People remember stories 22 times better than facts, and that's why the best way to become a more interesting and memorable person is to know how to tell a story, and tell a story well. Hi, I'm Andrew Wood and I'm a storyteller, and today I'm going to break down for you 3 ways to make your storytelling better right away. In a future video, I'll break down my process on how I craft a story from start to finish, but for now, I'm going to give you 3 tips just to get you started. Here we go. The first way to improve your storytelling is with your hook. The hook is how you gain your audience's attention. There are so many different ways to create an engaging hook that will make people want to listen to your whole story, but my top 3 tips are here. My favorite way to hook someone is starting at the most intense part of my story. One of my most recent videos is called I Almost Got Knifed. It's not clickbait because it's a true story, but I just started right with the title of my video with the most interesting part of my story, and then I gave the backstory on how I got there. A second strategy for hooking your audience is with a question. Now, this could be an interesting fact or something that someone might not know, but this is a good way to kind of create a sense of curiosity as you begin your story. One example of this would be, did you know that elephants kill more people than lions in Zambia? And yes, I have a story to go with that. A third hook idea is to go with an emotion, how you were feeling at a certain time. One example of this could be, my palms were sweaty as I pushed open the door to the office that day. In the knife story, I hooked them with the title, but then at the beginning of the story, I started with an emotion, how I was feeling as I looked through a window in the back of a taxi bus in Africa. A hook like that will make people feel curious about how you were feeling. It will make them step into your shoes and experience that story with you. And that brings us to story tip number 2. Story tip number 2 is to use details effectively. In order to use details effectively, you can't use too many details and you can't use too few. You don't want to be the person that shares too many details. So we were going out fishing and my buddy Cameron had this real nice rod, the RX 3000. And get this, he was shooting with artificial bait, which I don't even think works that well, but he thought it was working that well. Oh my gosh. No, we had a fight about that one. And then Marcia, she says to me, well, oh my gosh, did you hear about Marcia's cousin, Sandra? She's having a baby. Don't be the person that shares too many details or thinks that everyone wants to hear the backstories. Instead, you want to carefully choose the details that you share to convey this emotional, sensual experience. Not sensual, just sensual. The grocery store smelled like pine salt, and as I got up to the cashier, I noticed that she kind of looked like an off-brand Betty Crocker. Oops. I noticed that she kind of looked like an off-brand Martha Stewart. She stared at me kind of awkwardly as she was checking all of my items. She looked at me. She said, "Do you like jazz?" I didn't overwhelm you with details, and I kept the story moving along, but I did share key details that would help you visualize the way she looked, the sounds that you would hear with the scanning, the way it smelled. Key features like that can draw your audience into the story by having them connect with it and visualize it in their heads. My third and final tip for you is to use your nonverbals effectively. Nonverbals are things like the way that you pause and space out your words, the filler sounds that you use, the way you move your body, where you're facing, whether or not you use your hands. Studies show that nonverbals are actually more important in people's interpretation of the story than the verbals themselves. That means with the same script, you could tell a way more compelling story just by using your nonverbals effectively. The first thing you immediately need to do to have more effective nonverbals is to get rid of all your filler sounds, like Once you get rid of those filler sounds, you're gonna sound way more confident. The difference is insane. Just by putting in pauses where filler sounds normally are, you make yourself look immediately way more memorable and compelling. If you want to make these spaces even more successful, I would recommend making sure your eyes match what you want to say. For example, if you're trying to remember a detail, actually look up into the side. Yeah, that was back in '79. I wasn't alive then. If you want to convey an emotion, like let's say you're telling an emotional story, try putting your eyes down to the ground during one of these pauses. Or if you want to just really appear confident, just hold eye contact. Be steady in the way that you use that pause. I'm going to release another video really soon that breaks down nonverbals even more. But my last nonverbal tip for the day is to really lean into the emotion of what you're saying. No one wants to listen to a monotone narrator. By bringing in hand gestures, by showing sadness when you're feeling sadness or when you feel sadness in your story, by showing excitement, raising your voice a little, talking faster, showing that you're excited about something. These are little touches that will really sell your story and make it so much more interesting to hear. Recap. The top 3 ways you can immediately improve your storytelling are: number 1, use an effective hook. Number 2, use details, but not too many. And number 3, use your nonverbals effectively. If this was useful to you, or you're fascinated by how interesting storytelling is, please subscribe. I've got a lot more videos coming out soon that will break down storytelling even more, and I'll even be telling my own stories. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.